Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz, and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page, where this whole thing began as well. Just be aware that I may be way further ahead there than I am here on my channel, so only look it up if you're alright with spoilers. All relevant links are in the description below, and of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then, so, welcome, and what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story, a Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is entirely fictional, comically dramatic, and probably rather ridiculous. All my stories are. The characters are quite often caricatures, the subject matter taboo and/or toxic, and the turn of phrase, frankly, rather falutin at times. I want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with, let's go. Today's story is from Julian, Kalthis & Co., and we're at chapter 2. If you have not seen the previous chapter and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So, without further ado... Kellyanne didn't care that she was pregnant. She was going out drinking anyway. It was the only thing that made her feel any better, and it's not like anyone else was even going to notice, let alone care. The bartender served her without a second glance, and nobody else was even there. Or so she thought. Kellyanne was on her third drink when Julian appeared from the shadows. At first Kellyanne was embarrassed. Julian had to have heard about Bjorn. And hadn't she snubbed him for Bjorn that first night? But although they spent the rest of the night talking, Julian made no mention of any of it. He treated Kellyanne like nothing had ever happened. The next day, Julian texted and asked her out. She was a little self-conscious about dating one man while being pregnant to another, but Bjorn was the one who had left her, not the other way around. It wasn't her fault she was single. And anyway, Julian took her out to a beautiful Italian restaurant like she'd never been to before, and they had a wonderful time that night. Kellyanne wished she could turn back time and make this baby Julian's and not Bjorn's. Julian was everything to her that she could have ever wanted during those last heavy months of her pregnancy. He rubbed her feet every night and spoke about their future together with a light in his eyes that left Kellyanne in no doubt that he was for real. He loved her and her baby, and she loved him right back. Kellyanne Kalthis and Bjorn Bjergsen's daughter Kelsey was born early in the morning on a warm summer's day. She had her mother's violet eyes and her father's bright blonde hair, and Kellyanne was surprised to find herself feeling something for her daughter. She didn't really like kids, and most of her pregnancy had been unwanted and uncomfortable, but Kelsey sure was cute for a baby. Kellyanne couldn't help it. Despite everything he'd said and done so far, a part of her had still been expecting Julian to be gone when she got home from the hospital with her daughter. She'd been so hurt before. Julian understood, though, and he was patient and reassuring. He loved her, and she was going to have to learn to trust that eventually, because he wasn't going anywhere. Baby Kelsey didn't share any of her mother's reservations. She loved Julian from the moment she laid eyes on him, and he loved her back. She was so very tiny and so gorgeous. Julian thought she had taken the very best features of both her parents and put them together beautifully. She was a week old when he got her name tattooed on his arm. She hadn't really put on much weight throughout her pregnancy, but Kellyanne got straight to working out anyway. Her appearance was very important to her. She never wanted to be one of those saggy tracksuit mums who let themselves go and lived off takeaway. She was going to be a MILF. It was lucky Kellyanne had started working out, or she would have been getting fat. Julian had grown up in Simsational, so he knew all the back streets, and now that Kelsey had been born, they could just hire a babysitter before going out to dinner at one of the seemingly endless chain of food stalls he was capable of finding at every turn. In fact, they went out for dinner so often that at first Kellyanne thought she had food poisoning. Oh God, how she hoped she had food poisoning. Kelsey wasn't even 3 months old. Surely it wasn't possible that she was pregnant again already, was it? The doctors had told her that if she breastfed, she wouldn't get pregnant, so they hadn't been being very careful. She was so nervous about telling Julian. It hadn't been that very long ago that she was standing in this very room with Bjorn telling him about baby Kelsey. And look what had happened there. Kellyanne had seen him just the other day with his wife, Clara being very pregnant, and they had looked right through her. What if Julian did the same thing to her now? Instead, Julian took her out to dinner to celebrate. He was always surprising her with how different he was to Bjorn. Kellyanne was starting to really believe that he loved her. He always asked her how her day went, and after moving in, he had even quit his job to look after Kelsey so she didn't have to quit hers. She wasn't even his daughter, but that never seemed to matter to him. Julian couldn't wait to meet his child. He never wanted Kellyanne to worry that he loved Kelsey any less, because that would be impossible. She was his little smelly melon. But he definitely felt a deeper connection with the unborn baby this time around. That was his baby in there. It was a beautiful day. They walked hand in hand along the beach and made sandcastles at the foot of a mountain before sneaking a shower together in the waterfall. They got dressed as sunset approached, and then Julian surprised her by bending down on one knee and asking her if she would do him the honour of becoming Mrs. Julian Rhodes. Kellyanne finally believed him now. Julian was for real and she was going to marry him. And he wanted to adopt Kelsey as well. Together they purchased the furniture and redecorated what had been a yoga room as a nursery for both Kelsey and their future baby. They planned to get married at the Stargazer where they first met. Julian was always tinkering with things and fixing them so they could save a little money. Kellyanne didn't mind because even though he did break some things, he usually fixed them afterwards, and he often got stuff done that she could never seem to get her landlord to do. So she thought nothing of it when she walked past him on the way to make dinner, and he had a screwdriver jammed into some part of the back of the TV. Julian felt almost no warning. 1 second he was holding the wires in one hand and the screwdriver in the other. The next, something had gone wrong. Everything felt like it was on fire inside him, and he was a foot in the air, convulsing with pain. As he smelt burning hair, pissed himself, and saw his life flash before his eyes, his last thoughts were of Kellyanne, Kelsey, and his unborn child. Kellyanne was eating her dinner in the kitchen when she heard an odd "psst" noise and a yelp from Julian. But by the time she waddled her way in from the kitchen to investigate why he wasn't replying, it was far too late. He'd already had thousands of volts shock his system and burn him from the inside out. He was dead. Kellyanne was destroyed by Julian's death. He had seen her at her worst and loved her anyway, given her everything she'd never let herself dream of, and more. He had wanted to marry her, and now he was dead, and she was alone with a baby and another on the way. What was she going to do without him? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 2 of Kellyanne, Kalthis & Co. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook for spoilers. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Bye!